Karol Rosa versus Joselyne Edwards. We got minus 170 on Karol Rosa, and Joselyne Edwards is coming in at plus 150, who just made her debut at the beginning of January, the first ever event back in 2021 for the UFC. She makes her UFC debut on short notice there, and she once again comes in here, steps in on short notice to fight Karol Rosa, who originally was supposed to fight Nico Montano. So let's get into this fight. And I'm very much excited for this fight. Let's start off with Joselyne Edwards, first and foremost, who's, again, making her sophomore run into the UFC. Came off a very successful debut against Wu Yanan last time around, where she outstruck her close to 40 strikes. I do want to get the actual the exact numbers. Yeah, we had 88 to 58, and then we had one takedown from Wu Yanan there, one sub attempt from Joselyne Edwards as well. If you guys remember that first round, she throws up that very close armbar, gets close to it a couple times. Unfortunately, Wu Yanan gets out of it both times. But what do we see from her? And it's exactly what I was expecting. After running the tape on her from a regional scene. We saw, solid Muay Thai, good striking, good knees, good aggression, solid groundwork as well, too. When she was on her back, she did a good job in terms of reversing takedown attempts from Wu Yunan, or even just reversing her on the ground and then throwing up a couple submission attempts as well, too. So I was very impressed with Edwards, just as I said I was when I was breaking down that fight against Wu Yunan. I thought she had a ton of potential. I still think she does. She's still young in age. She was born in 95. So she's 25 currently. Karol Rosa, on the other end, is 26. She just turned 26 in December. So relatively same age here. In terms of experience, we're talking about Karol Rosa, who's 13-3, and we got Joselyne Edwards, that's 10-2. So pretty close there in terms of the amount of experience. Training partners, the advantages definitely has to go to Karol Rosa here, who pretty much trains regularly side by side with Jessica Andrade. So that's a solid training partner to have there. Joselyne Edwards, on the other hand, still just training in the middle of nowhere, not really getting in good with training partners. So that's a little bit of a concern. So the difference with Edwards against Wu Yanan and Edwards against Karol Rosa here is, I think that Rosa is a little bit more of a refined striker than what she was going up against with Wu Yanan. I like what we're seeing from Rosa in terms of combinations, solid leg kicks, a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, good fight IQ in terms of when to take the fight to the ground or clinch up when necessary. And I think that might be a little bit of the kryptonite here to Joselyne Edwards. Now, I don't want to see Karol Rosa go out there and take down Edwards, as Edwards, again, like I said, very active off of her back, and she could possibly be live for a submission there. Even though Karol Rosa coming into this fight is a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. But on the feet, I'm interested because I thought in the Wu Yanan fight we would get damage versus volume, but the person who was bringing the damage also brought the volume as well too. She goes out there, I believe she throws 206 strikes, lands 86 of them or 88 of them. Again, completely outstriking the person that was supposed to be bringing the volume and the output. Now here with Karol Rosa, we're talking about somebody who attempted over 300 strikes in her first fight against Lara Procopio. I do want to pull that up in terms of the actual numbers. So she landed 171. She threw 351. In her next fight against Vanessa Melo, she landed 120 and threw 228. Mixed in 2 takedowns there as well too, for a total of close to 6 minutes of control time. So I think Karol Rosa might be the better overall fighter here, and she has a lot to offer on the feet. I got to give the speed advantage, though, to Joselyne Edwards. I think she throws with a little bit more pep in her step. She throws a little bit more heat and throws a little bit more speed, too. But Karol Rosa just brings back such a very educated lead hand. That's one thing that I found very impressive with her in terms of from her jab to her lead hook. She shows it all. She shows a great versatility with her striking game. So I'm very impressed with what I'm seeing from Karol Rosa. I wish this fight was lined a little bit closer, though, because I do lean the Karol Rosa side, as I do think she has a more complete game, throws in combinations, and I think she could kind of stunt the forward movement of Joselyne Edwards, by just sticking those combinations out there and remaining active. Joselyne Edwards could obviously have her moments as well too, mixing in her complete Muay Thai game. But with that said, we do see solid Muay Thai from Karol Rosa as well, who in clinches finds those vital knees and those perfectly timed knees to really initiate damage on her opponent. So this is a close fight, closer than the line suggests. But with that said, I'm not the highest on taking Edwards in this spot at plus 150. I do think she still has some solid potential. I think she could definitely make a little bit of noise in the top 15 in this division. However, I just need to see a little bit more from her against more, recognized opponents or more legitimate opponents. And I think Karol Rosa herself, who is a prospect, I think that's a good test for both women here to see where they're at and who really is more ready to crack into that top 15 and that top 10. I also do believe that Joselyne Edwards, mainly somebody that, again, is only second fight in the UFC, is a 135 pounder. It seems like Rosa is going to have a little bit of a size advantage when I'm talking about actual mass. So we got 5'8", 70-inch reach for Joselyne Edwards, whereas Karol Rosa, we got 5'5", 67.5-inch reach. But in terms of like strength, it looks like Rosa will definitely have the advantage there. She seems like she would be able to bully Joselyne Edwards a little bit more. A little bit torn on this fight, but I am going to side with the Karol Rosa side, as I do believe that she has a better overall game. Again, I love her combinations. I love her tenacity in terms of sticking with the combinations and moving forward. Her durability looks great too, but then again, she's not really fighting the hardest punchers in Vanessa Mello and Laura Procopio in her last two fights. But I'm still interested to see how her career totally shapes out. Edwards, the last time we really saw her have issues was against Sarah Alpar, who was a very grapple-dominant opponent who just kept pushing Edwards up against the cage, taking her down, not really doing too much damage, and allowing Edwards to get back to the feet. So I don't expect to see that type of approach here from Karol Rosa. I'm expecting both of these women to throw down. I'm not going to entirely say that the damage is strictly going to come from the Edwards side, because I do think Rosa has some pop on her shots. She throws great combinations, and she really snaps the head back of her opponents whenever she's landing these big shots. So, Edwards does seem to be a hittable opponent. She might be able to use that reach advantage to her advantage a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be huge here. So, again, I'll go with Karol Rosa. I think she lands more shots here. She looks busier. Maybe sprinkles in a takedown or two, showing off that fight IQ of hers. And again, solid training camp coming. I'm trying to remember the exact team's name. PRVT, Perenne Valitudo. Where Jessica Andrade trains as well too. So I'll go with Karol Rosa here. I think she wins by decision, combinations, takedowns, and just an overall game. And I think that Edwards might be a little bit too green to be facing an opponent, who has this type of experience and seen the types of fights that Rosa has seen at this point in time. But again, I'm not going to completely write off Edwards here. I think she has a solid chance to really fill out to be a solid prospect. But this is a very tough test, especially on short notice too. You're taking this on short notice. You're fighting a better version of Wu Yanan. And again, I think the combinations and fight IQ of Karol Rosa will definitely pay off here. So once again, I'll go with Karol Rosa to win this fight via decision.